God resists the proud, but he gives grace to the humble. You may have heard of it. It's read in the New Testament. It's clear. God resists the proud. Now I want to explain to you why God is resisting the proud. Because pride in itself is hostility towards Heavenly Father. Pride is simply you looking at your own abilities and or the lack thereof and decide that you don't want to admit how vulnerable you are, how dependent you are, and now you want to compensate for that by obtaining power over other people and life circumstances. It's natural that you want a leverage or a grip over life circumstances. Nobody wants to be tossed around by difficulties or tossed around by circumstances, never be able to get anything done. That's healthy that you want to have some grip or some leverage in life. However, any leverage you obtain in life must be in harmony with the will of the Heavenly Father for it to be sustainable and healthy both for you and those you come in contact with. Any leverage you're craving that is not in harmony with the will of the Heavenly Father is self-destructive. It will harm you in the long run and it will harm everyone else you get involved with. So of course, the Heavenly Father cannot approve of that. Of course, the Heavenly Father has to take action against that. Because here's the issue with pride. If you succeed in what you want to do, now you're boosted like you're some demigod. Now you think you have some superhuman quality that excludes you from being vulnerable. Now you think that your compensation is actually reality, that you're above being vulnerable and all that, which you're not. So pride makes you delusional in the long run. On the other hand, pride can also be that you don't want to do anything. Pride can also be that you don't even think you have any value. People think pride is only when someone thinks they're God at the center of the universe. Pride is also when you're not willing to allow yourself to be loved by God and other people. You're too scared to admit your vulnerability and lack of leverage that you just run away. You don't want any intimacy. You don't want anything that reminds you vulnerable. There's also pride because that's the ability you rely on to keep yourself safe. You think you're safe and better off if you stay away from being vulnerable and intimacy. But you are a vulnerable creature and you need intimacy to be mentally well. So whether someone does really believe they have any value, which itself is an insult towards Heavenly Father, who created them and who in human form went to Calvary for them and rose again from the dead. And also, it's also quite unrealistic because if you truly had no value whatsoever, why is society threatening you to comply? Why would demons insist on feeding off you if you have no value whatsoever? So anyway, pride can come in various ways, where someone thinks they're the center of the universe, which obviously everyone knows is not true, or someone being convinced that they don't have any real value, so they don't really bother that much with themselves. It's both pride. In both cases, you want compensation for being vulnerable the way God made you. It's both refusal to acknowledge the Heavenly Father and to trust His ways for you. Anyone that's proud eventually reach out to violence. You don't have to be a violent individual yourself. If you're proud, eventually violence will be an outlet for you or a rescue. This is how you perceive it at some point. So that's why God does not endorse pride, especially not within a believer. That's why I said God resists the proud. Some of your prayers and some of the decrees declarations aren't there to be fruitful in the earth to glorify the Father. Because if you want to be fruitful and dominant in the earth to glorify God, to show His strength through your weakness, guess what? Your decrees, prayers, declaration are perfectly fine. But some of you are praying, decreeing, and declaring just to compensate some vulnerability you don't want to admit, or just to compensate some trauma that you're not over yet. You either have unprocessed trauma that you're covering up, or you're just terrified by the whole idea that you're built in such a vulnerable way. And that terror you feel is fear. That terror you feel is fear. And fear is not from the Heavenly Father. God told you over again, fear not, fear not, fear not. Don't let your heart be troubled. Do not be afraid. So pride is based on fear. And fear simply goes down to you don't trust God to be able or willing to have your back. That's what it comes down to. Someone that's proud always operates in fear. Everything they do is based on type of fear. They're always afraid of something. And people like that, eventually they can't think clearly anymore. Eventually they become overwhelmed by toxic emotions inside of them, and they always act in a self-destructive way, harming themselves and other people in the process. So when a proud individual prays, what they really want is for the Heavenly Father to assist them to become independent. But God never built you to be independent. Now, you can be independent from certain things in life. For example, as an adult, you may be independent of your parents' finances because you're a grown man, a grown woman. You have your own income, but you're still dependent on your business succeeding. It's not dependent on your customers or you're dependent on your employer or whatever. You're always going to be dependent on something or someone. True independence, only the Heavenly Father has that. You seeking independence is you not wanting to be vulnerable and you not wanting to have to need to be around other people. You don't want to be in a position where you need to ask for help. You don't want to be in a position where you need to wait on others to come through for you. You want to keep others under control because you think that by doing that you're going to be safe. So you have this paranoia towards others, especially towards Heavenly Father. Now, you may not see it this way, but that's what it comes down to. Pride, it may feel powerful, but it's actually horrible. Pride does not benefit anyone at all. The humble are people who admit how vulnerable they are, admit that they can't control anything, and what I mean is that they can't actually control outcomes in life. What they have a firm grip over is their own mind, how they think and feel, and their own attitude. But apart from that, they don't have any firm grip on anyone else. People who are like this were realistic. They admit, I need help. Let me submit and get help. And because of that, they're teachable. They learn, they improve, and now they're more effective in life. And that's the big problem. A lot of people, they're not teachable. You teach them something, they, oh, I got it, and now they go around using their knowledge. Okay, it's good to use the knowledge you've given them, but just because you give them knowledge doesn't mean they know it all. Listen, nobody truly believes they know it all. Because obviously nobody knows it all because we're not God. Okay? We don't have this omniscience to see and hear everything. Okay? But people may decide, I know enough now. I just want to get this over with and be left alone. Listen. You have to be teachable. Some people are teachable for a moment, and afterwards, they're not teachable anymore. For example, you can have a salesman go into some course in how to do better sales, and they follow the course, they make 10 times the amount of sales, and they think, man, I got it. No. You got that knowledge, but it doesn't mean you got it. No, because if you got it, you would have realized, okay, I have the knowledge, but the knowledge is not sufficient because this knowledge is not applicable in every circumstance. So you know what? Let me say teachable. Let me go back for more. There are people who made a lot of cash in their life and they're in their 80s or 90s now and they're still teachable, willing to learn. And this is a problem a lot of people who graduate university and college. Not all, but it's a problem with a lot of them. I myself, I graduated for my bachelor's at Leiden University. I got 2 masters at Leiden University and 1 master at Erasmus University of Rotterdam. So in totally, I graduated 4 times on an academic level. I have 4 academic degrees. And let me tell you, I've seen this with many of my fellow students who graduated, or just other students in general who graduate. They think because They've got that certification now, their diploma, that in the field they graduate in, they're ready to go. They know it, they got it. And it feels good, it feels motivating. You have your graduation ceremony, you wear that hat, you throw the hat around, you make pictures with your friends and family, you celebrate it, and I think, hey, I'm going to get a job now, I'm going to start my own business, I got it, I can handle life. And before you know it, they're done with depression. They've crashed. They think, what I could get myself into. Here's why. They ceased being teachable the moment they graduated. The moment they got notification you graduated, they ceased being teachable. The true success is to remain teachable no matter how much you succeed. A lot of people, they develop pride eventually when they succeed. And them succeeding is proof that in their mind they got it. No, listen, having it means that you realize that I'll always need guidance and I always need advice and always need people to look after me. Remain teachable. On this channel, I've noticed that sometimes when I read the comment section, because I do read the comment section and I prove comments, but in the past, that means years ago, I noticed that a lot of people left comments behind that showed they were not teachable. They already had a conclusion about what I was teaching without even listening to the video. Or they had their own ideas how they saw it or whatever. They're not teachable. And let me tell you, if you're not teachable, you can't learn, you can't get solutions, you'll be stuck in life, going around in circles, crashing, bring yourself and others down. Listen, it's hard to teach someone who's not teachable. As a matter of fact, in most cases, it's impossible to teach someone that's not teachable. Because why? After you tell them a teaching will go into one ear, you go out in the other ear. Simple as that. Listen, and I'm not the type of individual that will waste time and effort on anyone that's not teachable. I don't know who's watching my videos and my live streams. There may be people who are teachable, there may be those who are not teachable. Well, those who are not teachable, they're wasting their time listening to my videos and live streams because they're not ready to listen anyway. They just want to seek confirmation for their own biases. Well, that's not on me. But for those who are teachable, who are willing to learn, I keep making videos, live streams for you guys. You cannot improve, nor grow, nor expand in life if you're not teachable. That's what Christ said. You have to become like little children. He didn't say you have to become like little children by actually behaving like little children. He said just like little children are flexible, you can mold them easily, the way same way you have to be when you follow Christ. You have to be teachable, y'all. And a lot of believers, the reason why they don't have any breakthroughs is because they're holding on to some type of control they think they have. So they're operating in pride. So that also means they're operating in fear. That means they're not walking by faith. That means they're actually going against the Heavenly Father, and they're blaspheming the Heavenly Father also by doing this. Don't do this, y'all. Remain teachable. I remember this example of this prince from Austria-Hungary. And this guy, he was offered to become emperor of Mexico. At the time, France occupied Mexico, lent some debts Mexico couldn't pay. And then, because it was this sentiment amongst the Mexican elite to have a European prince governing them, now they asked this prince from Austria to become the emperor of Mexico. Well, that guy accepted. On his way to Mexico, they gave him books to read about Mexican culture, about the Mexican people, so we prepared to deal with the people. This guy thought, man, I don't need all of this, man. I'm a prince from Austria-Hungary. I belong to the elite families of the world. One of my relatives is the emperor of Austria, king of Hungary. So, hey, I got this, y'all. Well, guess what? When he was crowned emperor of Mexico, he began his rule. There was a time where farmers protesting him, and he ordered farmers to be shot and killed, and it happened. And this was a huge mistake. It triggered a huge revolution against him, and eventually he was overthrown, executed, and his body was transported back to Europe for burial. Oh, and by him taking the throne of Mexico, he lost his royal privileges in Austria-Hungary. Because the Emperor of Austria and King of Hungary was the same individual, didn't agree with this. And here's another thing, y'all. When he made that fatal mistake by killing those farmers, by letting farmers be shot and killed that were protesting against him, at some point, even Napoleon III, one of his allies who helped him get the throne of Mexico, told him, yo, it's better for you to leave Mexico. He urged him, leave Mexico. You're not going to survive this, man. There's people about to get you. Leave Mexico. The guy said, no, I'm the Emperor of Mexico, man. I got this. Guess what? He didn't have it. The pride of his heart deceived him. Why didn't he read the instructions and the books that were handed over to him to learn what he was dealing with? Why didn't he show more empathy? Why didn't he listen? Guess what? That guy could have remained Emperor of Mexico, and Mexico could have been an empire till this day. He could have had a whole legacy and whole dynasty succeeding him, but no. He was caught short, you all. I'm telling you all. Don't let pride get to you. Yes, you have your own understanding. You're going to use your own understanding, but never rely on your own understanding, all. Never rely on your own understanding, man. Don't do it. Well, that's it for now. Keep agreeing with Christ. Be at peace. And I'll see you in my next live stream. Shalom.